picture of Bo for me. This picture that's about to come up was at another sports camp. This is a picture of Bo. And this was probably our first sports camp at Oakview Elementary. And First Baptist Church of Charleston, one of their members, took this picture of Bo, framed it, and gave it to me. And when I saw it, I couldn't help but break down. And it didn't quite make sense to her. She was like, what's wrong? I said, what you don't realize is this. When Bo was born, his feet were actually turned backwards. And the doctors was just like, he's going to need rehab. And we think we can do it without cutting his Achilles, but we think we can straighten him out. But we're not sure. But they said this is something he's going to probably deal with for most of his life. Backwards. Y'all, we ain't been back to the doctor in 9 years, and he's 10. And guess what? He runs up and down the field like nothing. And when I saw this picture, it was a stone of remembrance for me. And it led me to a place of fearing God and being in awe of God and saying, God, look at what you did for my son. Look at what you did. You got to have these places in your life that just bring you to thanksgiving and will lead you to stand in awe of our great God. This last picture of Kyron. This is another one. This is Kyron. Go back. Kyron. This picture was when Kyron was playing basketball in Texas. And the reason why it's so significant is because around the same week that he took this picture, we took Kyron to the doctor. We took Kyron to the doctor, and the doctors was like, hey, we think everything is fine. But then they called us 30 minutes later, and they said, rush him to the hospital because his blood sugar level was at 900 and around 80, 980. They said he's at risk of going into a diabetic coma. And we rushed to the hospital, and it was dramatic. It was just like, hey, he's only 7 years old. God, what's going on here? We don't have any family in Texas. We don't have anybody here to help us. Our insurance, we don't know if it's intact or not. And it was one of those things of, God, how are we going to get through this? And looking at this picture, it always brings me to a place. Because they just said, hey, you know, he's going to have to do things, and we don't know if it's going to affect his growth. We don't know if it's going to affect his strength. We don't know if it's going to affect him this way. And the picture I remember is his brother TJ walking with him with a portable IV because they had to replenish fluids in his body. And I'm going to tell you, you shouldn't see 5-year-olds helping their 7-year-old brother with an IV. And it tore me up, y'all. But every time I look at this picture, you see my son week after week playing drums, leading us into worship. You see him walking around as if nothing is wrong. You see him strong as ever, just like, hey, I'm good. It brings you to a place of, I dare you to put your trust in my God. Brings you to a place of fear. Brings you to a place of awe. Stones of remembrance. Stones of remembrance. Stand in awe of God, y'all. You see, when you get to a place where you're remembering the goodness of Jesus and all he's done for you, it's going to bring you to a place of standing in awe of him. It's going to bring you to a place of like, God, I don't know how I made it through that, God. I don't know how I was able to get to this place, but you'll stand in awe of our great God and realize I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Jesus. If it wasn't for him working, if it wasn't for him working on my behalf.